Thank you, Doug. All right, good, great ideas, great ideas. Good job. Great start so far. So I'm going to mention some things, and in this series of videos, you're going to see that we have there's going to be a lot of commonalities in my just in my responses, and one of those is to kind of to push the whole all teams in kind of a different way of thinking about the problem at hand. Okay, so I just got done describing this to Natalie right before you, but I'm gonna use a lot of the same examples here just so you can see the bigger picture. And again, if you go through this form, you'll see that I will be using this example quite often, and I think it's the best example. But at any rate, what are we after here, Doug? What's the big problem here? What is the issue here based on your research so far? And you should be sitting back and going, well, let's see. The big picture here is definitely not just designing a new vehicle configurator. That's not design thinking. That's not human-centered design, although it can be. And that's what we're trying to push. We're trying to push in that direction. But how do we do that? We have to peel back some layers here, and we have to determine what is the main underlying problem. Natalie left some really good statistics here. Natalie actually included some of her research here too. These are really great data points right here. But after analyzing the market and analyzing people's, the empathy stage where you're actually looking into and researching what people define as the biggest problems with buying a car, and overwhelmingly the response is going to be having to deal with the salesperson. And the reason being is because the salesperson incentive is different considerably than the incentives of the car buyer. So we're after human-centered design. Right now it seems like the whole car buying process is to the advantage of salesmen and dealerships and manufacturers, right? It's not human-centered. So it's not centered around us, the purchaser. So what we need to do is we need to determine what the big overlying problem is from the purchaser's perspective and address that through this kind of configurator. All right, so upon research, you're going to find that the biggest complaint that people have about going into a dealership and buying a car is dealing with high-pressured salesperson and getting presented with situations and high-pressure situations. Listen, a few years ago, my wife and I walked into a dealership, and I couldn't believe my ears. I ended up looking at this guy and saying, yeah, you know what, guy, you don't pull that stuff. You're just not doing yourself any favors as a salesman. Anyways, what he did is this. He said, all right, before he even knew what we wanted, he says to us, we sit down at his desk and he says to us, I'll tell you what, whatever you buy today, I'll knock 10% off the sticker price if you purchase today. And I look at him, I go, where's the incentive there, guy? What kind of BS is that even to say to a customer? I was really mad. And I think that points to the problem being that we're pressured into buying. We're pressured into making decisions that will certainly lead to buyer's remorse later on down the line. And it's just really an uncomfortable situation. So what are we after, Doug? We're after not designing a configurator. We're after changing the way people buy cars. We're after changing the whole process, right? And eliminating that horrible feeling that you get when you feel like you've purchased something based on pressure, especially a high ticket item that could be $40, $50, $60, $70,000, right? So we're going to say, all right, what the problem is we want to address the way that we buy cars. And this is a way to do it. Now, one of the things that we're after is defining the biggest issue, which is eliminating the middleman. Let's eliminate the salesman altogether. So how can we do that? Well, eventually we're going to have to go into a configurator, into a dealership or a car show or some other remote location to use the configurator, right? So we can still go to the dealership, we can go into the configurator room, we can use any one of these configurators, right, to configure our car. This is a great one. Make a holographic projection. It's got 360 degree. So at the kiosk, you go ahead and you define all of the features you want. Then you walk from the kiosk and you can do a 360 around your car, looking inside at the interior, etc., and everything. But then the problem is this: is eventually you're going to have to test drive the car with a salesperson, and again, that's where you're going to get the pressure. So this is the example I'm using, and I want you to think along these lines. Can we take the configurator and can we just do kind of one-stop shopping? So in other words, we configure the automobile. Then we can have a financial calculator, right? Let's say this is your prototype. Well, you configure the vehicle. Then you switch to another screen where you configure the, you can figure out your payments based on, how much you put down and how long you want the payment duration to be. Or you can even define how much you're going to pay a month to see how long it'll take you to pay it off. So you want to, think about adding a financial calculator here so that you can figure out resale value in 10 years with X amount of miles, right? Things like that. And then, heck, let's not stop there. Let's keep going. Once we're done with all of that stuff, then we can take the results, hit a report button that generates a report, and then maybe sends it over to another room where there's a drive simulator in that room. And the drive simulator programs itself based on the information that you send to it, right? So the tires, the transmission package, everything is going to be featured in the drive simulator. In the simulator itself, you can even do things like simulate different road conditions, mountains, driving in the mountains. What's it like driving in the snow? Right? What's it like driving in the rain? What's it like driving on flat land? What's it like driving in the sand? Whatever the situation is, right? So that now we're able to say, okay, now granted is that technology might not be there yet, but that shouldn't impede our creative ideas. So the configurator, basically and theoretically, you can completely eliminate the middleman. You can even really drive a car, test drive a car, purchase a car based on the test drive in the simulator. Is one prone to do that? I would say if I was done with the simulator, I would still want to drive the car. But that's regardless of that. The point is that we're addressing the bigger problem. That's design thinking, and that's what we're after. Okay, so great job, but just take my thoughts and take them back to your team, talk about it, and see what we can compile for your group project. But this is excellent job for your individual submission. Don't forget, we need that data research for your submission here at the end of the week when you submit for grading. All right, Doug, great job. Questions, comments, concerns, clarifications, please let me know. I'll be glad to provide anything in that regard. All right, excellent. And of course, you know this, man. If you have any questions at all, please let me know. I'll be glad to address them immediately. Great job, Doug. Thanks.